Dove Cameron is a multi-talented actress and singer. She's conquered comedy, drama, and musical theater. Kelly spoke with her recently.
Hi, Dove. Thank you so much for joining us today. I can't even tell you what it means to me for so many reasons, but the number one reasons is that I am now the coolest person in my house because my niece is obsessed with you to another level. They can't, my niece Pearl has been texting me all day because she knows that I was going to be talking to you.
That's so lovely. That's so surreal. I mean, I feel like I've grown up watching you and your family. So it's so crazy to even know that you know who I am. So it's such an honor to speak to you. I hope, are you well? Are you having a
I am well. I went through a weird depression in all of this. I think everyone has. At first I was like, I'm going to do this on my own. I don't need anybody. I'm going to learn about myself and I'm going to get everything on that list that I've had for the last 5 years I never got to. I'm going to get it all done. And I did all of that in the first 2 weeks.
yeah.
And then I was like, okay, now I'm bored and I don't know what to do and I can't see anybody. And learning to be okay with just being me by myself has been an interesting experience. But now I'm with my parents and it's a lot more fun, but I actually preferred being by myself. And I didn't think that I would ever say that.
My best friend was talking about how much she's hating quarantine. I was talking about how much I'm actually like really benefiting from some parts of quarantine. And she said, well, that's because all you do is put out fires. You never take breaks. And she's been like my biggest proponent for being like, take a break. And I'm like, I can't, I don't deserve it. I must work until I fail myself. You know, I have this kind of complex where like, I have only felt like I've like earned my rest maybe twice in my life. And then other than that, I'm like, I have to go until I like fail, like until I physically fail.
I was exactly like that. I would just went from show to show to show to project to album to whatever it was I was working on to movie from the age of 15 to 33. And it was like every family vacation my family went on, I never went on because I had to work and I wanted to work. And I felt like if I wasn't working, then my existence on this planet is useless because what am I if I'm not working? It's all I knew. And when I took that time, and I took 2 years off, and I didn't want to be in the industry, and I didn't want to be around people, and I wanted to learn me and what I liked. And I got sober and I changed so much in my life. I meditate now. There are so many things that I do now that I thought, oh, I'll never be that girl. I'm not a hippie. I'm not this. I'm not that. And it's not a hippie thing to meditate. It's, you know, I categorized all of these things. It's self-care. It's looking after yourself. It's taking that time to say, hey, I need a minute. And I never thought that it was okay for me to do that before.
Yeah, I definitely think that that's a sort of like a punishment, like a form of self-punishment or some kind of like, I do think that we sometimes can take that on from our parents. Like I mean, it's all different for everybody, but that's something that I so relate to. And I think that's a big problem in not only, I sound like a broken record, but our industry, but also just like our culture is so like Puritan in their work regime. It's like you work until you fail. You never prioritize like what you need over your work because that's like unprofessional. Like our culture is so.
Being a woman, if you complain, you're difficult. And because I raised my hand and said, hey, this makes me uncomfortable, I don't want to do that, I got labeled difficult. And that point I was like, I'm never going to say anything, just sit here and do it.
Yeah.
And you find yourself just getting so unhappy. And this is the thing about quarantine that I'm loving. It's this reset and there are so many things that I'm going to change. I don't care about the way I look as much as I used to anymore.
How funny. Yeah, 100%.
I don't care about that anymore. I care about how I can help others. You know, all the vanity and all the instant gratification and the consuming constantly is just, I couldn't care less about that now. My whole mentality has shifted.
That's so funny that you say that because I wouldn't have been able to articulate that. But now that you say that, I think something that's so crazy clear because of the great parts of our society where like 100 years ago, if this was happening, we would never be able to be so connected, you know, social media, we wouldn't be able to do things like this. I wouldn't be able to work from home, all these things. But I feel especially very in touch with how um I am like a stimulation addict. And like if I'm like not eating food that is like really salty or sugary, I like have to be watching something. Or like another big like stimulation thing for me is people. I am such a people person, and I have to be like, I have to feel like I have like my hands and my arms in someone's soul being like, bear it all. And I'm
Yeah.
like crying and they're crying, or I'm like, you know, going into some crazy like passion project. But like when I am like, when I've run out of things to watch, when I'm like, oh, I can't eat like this anymore, when I am on my own, when I have like basically run out all of my not even distractions, like stimulation things that I don't see as stimulation because it's so part of our culture. It's so clear how much we just live on this high and then we don't replenish the things that actually feed our soul. And so then when we try to step away from things like social media or reality TV or this like stimulating food that sets off receptors in our brains, we are so sad. And it's not necessarily because we like are so sad naturally. I mean, yes, definitely. But also, like, I think a lot of it is a sort of a stimulation hangover where we don't know how to give ourselves what we really need. And we're so busy stuffing ourselves full of things that feel good for now and then don't actually benefit us deeply and emotionally, and they don't even touch that part, and so we're like screaming because it's so neglected. And I think that that's something that has made that's been made very clear in quarantine, because everything's like, oh, we can't, there's nothing, all the things we're reaching for are gone.
You go back, and that's the thing that I love. Like, I can't tell you the last time before quarantine that I sat down with my family and had a meal
Yeah.
at home, not in a restaurant, cooked by us. And even though some things taste a bit shit and we're a bit bland, the best meal ever, because it's like we're reconnecting with each other and we're looking into each other's eyes and we're really asking the question, how are you? Not as a common courtesy, but because we really want to know.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
finding that time to really put things into perspective, I think that's the beauty in all of this.
Yeah, definitely. The ability to slow down, the ability to actually maybe be in touch with something that feels more authentic, be in touch with a sort of a deeper sense of reality. Strangely, I feel like because we are so thrown out of our rhythm, it's like we have to actually be like, oh, what's really true for me? What is really something that I feel like I found a much deeper relationship with myself already, and that's not always pretty. Like, I think that people think that healing is like, oh, I'm healing and I did the work today.
Fun.
No, it's not fun. It's so not fun. Like, it's necessary, but it's not like, oh yeah, I'm really doing some intentional healing, and then you wake up a week later and you're like, and now it's healed. Like, I always joke with my friend and my boyfriend, because it's like, it's such a shit, like, it's just a bit like, I hate that I'm the only person who can do this work, but I am. And so
you do it and you release what you have been keeping inside of you and not realizing that you're carrying around you like chains wrapped around you. And once you let it go and you realize, wait, hold on, this is what happiness feels like. I don't wake up being like, oh no, what did I not do right? Or I could just, you suddenly wake up and you're free, and then you realize what happiness is. Like, I've been having all of these moments where, because I speak up and because I walk through being uncomfortable, like my favorite saying by Winston Churchill is, when you're walking through hell, just keep going. And when you keep going, you come out the other side, it's almost like a little badge of honor. Like, you get to wear like this victory that you've achieved because you did get through it and you didn't give up and you learned. And everything we do in life is a learning process and a way to grow and a way to better yourself. And this is the way that we need to be looking at this. This is a learning process. This is change for everybody, that we're all in this together. And I know that it sounds cliche and I know that it sounds stupid, but we really are. We've never, ever been more isolated, but we've never, ever been more connected as mankind. And again, that's the beauty in all of this.
yeah, I think it's very humbling to realize, because obviously we know, again, I was just talking to my best friend. My best friend is like my my like mirror. It's so bizarre. I've never met anybody who's more like, just, we have the same brain. And she was talking about how crazy it is that people even like, human life is so fragile. It's so crazy that people even like make it to old age. It's so crazy that we make it to a full life without like losing all of our limbs. Like, the world is big and scary. We are so fragile, and it is so, so, so crazy when like a human life is like, it's a miracle that we are even able to like have the lives that we have, the health that we do, the society that we do. And I think that we are not in touch with that. And I think that something like this is so humbling. We're like, wow, we are just that fragile. And all of us, like, that's a universal thing. It's not like, there's nobody who's not affected by loss and death and pain and illness and fear and loss of community. And
that's a whole different bag of tricks over there, that it's just not coming out in the same way. It manifests in different ways. And some, like, I look at some people and I think, you seem so unaffected by this. And I speak to somebody who is close with them and they're like, you don't know what's going on in the house. I'm like, oh, okay. Then that makes sense. It's just, everybody is going through their own personal journey, but it is something we are all collectively going through as one.
Yeah. And I don't know when the last time was that there was something this global. I mean, not for like 100 years.
No, I don't think since the Spanish flu there has been anything like this. I mean, World War II, World War One, but it still, there were still pockets of the world that were unaffected. This is a collective. It's the entire world. And I feel very lucky right now to have food on my plate, a roof over my head, and love in my heart, because you see that is something that's what makes you rich. That's what makes you be able to get through this. When you start, like, I've realized in all of this, there's two kinds of people. There's the everyman for themselves that hoards and takes everything and is nasty, and they don't want to protect anybody else than their home. And then there's the people who want to help everybody else. Like, if I have something that you don't, it's yours.
Yeah.
That's the way that I've looked at all of this. If I don't, even if I'm using it, if you need it, it's yours.
I've only been lucky enough to run into people that feel so like, I want to give back in any way that I can. People like that are having such incredible ideas that I know I would never come up with. And that, like, it inspires me so much to see
the creativity that's come from this.
And all of the many, many ways that people are thinking of other people, like things that I wouldn't think about. My friends are like, oh, what about that? That's going to affect this. And I want to do something to do with that. And I'm like, that's amazing. I would never, ever, ever think. Because this affects everything. This affects everything down to the tiniest, like this is just something that is so, like I said, like it's going to leave such a massive thumbprint before and after. And it's so beautiful to me to see how people that I know personally, people who I don't know, and like collectively, we're like, how do we get through this as a species, as a community? Like it crosses all borders. It is so human. It's so human.
I can't thank you enough for your time today, Dove, and your message is so beautiful and so strong. I love your new music. I love everything that you are doing. You are an incredible. Thank you. I really appreciate it.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you for all your time. You're so lovely to speak to.
Anytime. And when this is over, let's go and get some tea together.
Perfect. I love it. Please say hello to your family for me and take care of yourself.
She said that you were just adorable, and she says you have the best little nose.
Oh, tell her thank you. She's such a lovely person. Thank you so much.
Lovely speaking with you. Thank you.
You too.